Back to the high school sports page one more time, brought to you by the Burns Insurance Group. We're going to take a look at the 5A and 6A polls. In 5A, Independence and Farragut, number 1 and number 2 last week, were idle, so I'm going to leave them right where they were. Shelbyville, another undefeated team, is my new number 3 pick. Oak Ridge, a surprise winner over Sevier County, is back among my 5 teams at number 4. And Morristown West, a 24-7 winner over previously unbeaten 3A Knoxville Central, remains at number 5.
In the Mid-State, Independence and Shelbyville 1 and 2, and they're headed for a collision course in a week or so. It's Hendersonville back at number 3 following a win over East Nashville. And Beach moves into the number 4 spot after a 36-20 win over Springfield. Clarksville drops to number 5 after losing to Henry County, and Hillsboro drops out of the poll after losing to Cane Ridge.
In 6A, Maryville and Oakland continue their winning ways and remain the top 2 teams in my 6A poll. Arlington, however, fell out of the group after a 44-30 setback to Collierville, who's only 3 and 3. Cordova, one of only 2 6A teams without a loss, is now number 3 after a big win over Germantown. Whitehaven is number 4, and Smyrna back on my 6A list at number 5.
Mid-State, Oakland still number 1 after their Coffee County victory. Blackman moves back up to number 2 after the win over undefeated Cookeville. Ravenwood now number 3 following an open date. And the Raptors have a big showdown with McGavock this week. Smyrna stays at number 4 after that big win over Siegel, and Overton drops to number 5 following that tough overtime loss to McGavock.
And once again, Lisa Sheehan Smith, a nutritionist at MTSU, our special guest. Lisa, we've really enjoyed your snacks, and I'll have to admit I'm trying to eat healthier based on information you've given us every Wednesday night.
Oh,
It's been very helpful.
Glad to hear that, Murphy.
What all do we have tonight besides our beloved chocolate milk?
Yes, of course I couldn't come without the chocolate milk. I know my place. Well, I thought tonight we'd talk about a few tips on how to eat when on the road for those away football games.
Sure.
Because I often get that concern from athletes. I feel like I'm in control when I'm at home, but when all of a sudden I have to travel, I'm not sure what to eat. So I recommend 2 tips. The first one is to pack your food and beverages as much as possible.
And that's not that big a deal.
It's not, and I've brought some really easy suggestions. And then the second tip is to plan out your food stops. Know what restaurants you can stop at on the way and check out the menus in advance.
I see you have some great nutritional snacks like fruit.
I did. I packed some perishables and then some non-perishables. And you want to make sure we have the beverages because we need to keep them hydrated for that game. And then I've packed some nice lean protein choices, some low-fat cheese sticks, some yogurt, get in some good protein, pack some fruit, get some carbs in, hopefully to provide the energy they need for the game, maintain those blood sugar levels, hydrate the body well. And then these are some non-perishables. So brought some dried fruit, some crackers, and then I made this great recipe. It's called Grand Slam Snack Mix. And it's got some cereals, some pretzels, a little bit of cheese, some dried fruit. It's a real interesting combination of flavors. Easy to make. I'll leave the recipe for you, and it might be something to pack, make an advance pack and snack as you go along.
Might put that on our Facebook website.
Very good.
That would work. Lisa, thanks for being with us again.
You're welcome.
And I'm going to pay attention to this stuff. If it's on the table, it's a good idea, okay?
There we go.
Terry, some great mid-state games to look at this week. We've got about 2 minutes left. What are your mid-state highlights this week?
Well, there are highlights. All regional games, Murphy. Brentwood Academy at Innsworth as the Eagles got NBA'd next week, but that's a big win after Innsworth defeated CPA last week. Region 4 2A, I've got Forest at Watertown, and that's also for first place, neither team with a regional loss. And down in Rutherford County, it's Smyrna at Blackman. And then also I've got McGavock at Ravenwood. Of course, that's for also first place in Region 3 6A. Then Independence at Stewart's Creek down in Region 5 5A. Independence still number 1 in the state. Stewart's Creek needs a win to stay 1 game behind. And then finally in 5 3A, CPA at Stratford. CPA's 19-game winning streak broke last week with Hensworth. And Stratford has lost 2 in a row, but they need to win this one to stay even with CPA in that region.
Lots and lots of regional action this week. We'll take a look now at some East and West Tennessee games of interest. Dobbins, Bennett at Maryville, both the only undefeated teams left in Region 1 6A. That's a Thursday night game, so Might want to take a trip to Maryville tomorrow night. Could be a pretty good ball game to watch for a while. McCallie visits Baylor. Both of those 1-1 in Division II AA. Should be a great one. Both fighting for a home field game in the playoffs with a win in this ball game. Pigeon Forge at Elizabethton. Both of those teams 2-0, 3-1 overall. And Tyner Academy at Marion. Both of those teams have been beaten by Boyd Buchanan. They're playing for second place in that particular region. Now in West Tennessee, Briarcrest at Christian Brothers. Thomas McDaniel doing a great job at Christian Brothers, and I look for them to win that ball game. MUS has already dropped one league game, so it'll be interesting to see how Christian Brothers fares into the playoffs there under first-year coach Thomas McDaniel, who was at Oakland. Dresden visits Peabody. Dresden 6-0 overall, 4-0 in the league. Peabody in the same region, 5-1, 3-1 after that loss to Union City about 3 weeks ago. That ought to be a dandy. Dresden with an outstanding quarterback, and I look for another packed house in Trenton for that one. And then White Station at Whitehaven. Terry, that's always a battle when those two get together. They both actually have a league loss in Region 4, 6A, so they're playing for a home field game in the playoffs. I dare say both of them will be at home, but they'd much rather play number 7 than number 6, or whatever the case may be.
It's going to be a great game, Stormy. Murphy. Dresden also, after Peabody, they've got Union City next week, so it's amen corner for Dresden. Boy, that's 2 good weeks right there.
My top 3 teams in 1A, and they're all in the same region. It just shows you how things are in clusters all across the state. That's going to about do it for the high school sports page. We're glad you joined us this evening. A few more shows left before the regular season ends, so check us out Wednesday nights, 8 o'clock right here on News 5 Plus. We'll see you next week.